This video is brought to you by Squarespace. From websites to online stores and even marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace has got you covered. So welcome back to the Friday vlog series, where today we're going to split the video into my favourite number of parts. You guessed it, being 2. Part number 1. I wanted to share with you why I purchased a new Factor O2 VAM frame set, Factor's lightweight climbing bike when I don't even consider myself a climber. And part number 2, what's been going on behind the scenes, including a quick update on the Winspace project. So why Factor? Well, there are 3 reasons why I've decided to purchase a Factor bike, or as it stands, a frame set and a handlebar. And I'll be keen to get your thoughts on what we put on this bike later in the video. But before we get into it, I'm conscious that as the channel has grown a bit recently, and look, I appreciate everyone's support out there, and if you're yet to subscribe and you're getting value out of these types of videos and this type of content, really appreciate your support below as we head towards 100,000 subscribers. But as the channel is starting to grow, there is some more skeptical people out there, and I get that. Here he is promoting something again when it comes to me sharing information or promoting brands like Winspace or now Factor. So just know that Factor did not reach out to me. I contacted them to purchase this bike, and there are 3 reasons why, which I'll explain for you in a second. And as a result, I'm not getting paid for this. The video is not sponsored, etc. However, because Factor will receive some exposure on the channel through this project, I've been able to negotiate a rate with them, which is still a fair chunk of money, but I have paid for the bike, and as a result, I have complete freedoms over this entire project. So now that is out of the way. There are 3 reasons why I have decided to go with this lightweight climbing bike as my next personal bike for 2021. And let me clear the air before we get into item 1, because I know many people out there are like, what's wrong with this bloke? He's just bought a Winspace bike. Before that, he bought a BMC, then a Giant TCR. He's got bikes coming in left, right, and centre. Has he gone Ken Bruce mad?
Ken Bruce has gone completely mad!
So a big part of this channel is bike reviews. And what I realised some time ago, around the time of buying the Giant TCR, is that I'm way better off buying the bikes myself. I have more freedoms that way. I have more time with the bike, etc. And what I was finding with mainstream brands trying to get access to bikes is some or many mainstream brands don't have demo bikes to lend out. And I think some just don't want to deal with me. So being able to buy bikes myself just gives me a lot more freedom. And contrary to some brands not wanting to deal with me, that has not been the case with Factor. Because with Factor, this brings me to point number 1. Out of all the bikes I've reviewed in the past, the O2 is still the one bike I still often think about. And it was November 2018 when I first had the opportunity, thanks to Factor, to ride an O2. That was early days in the channel, and Factor at the time as well were interestingly going through a bit of a transition. They were going more direct to consumer. And at that time, I rode the Factor O2 3 to 4 times, put together a first impressions video on the channel, which I'll link to below, with the plan to create a more comprehensive review. And then this happened. The disc brakes went out of control. They went rogue, full Chewbacca style, and because 2018 was one of the first experiences I had with disc brakes, and not being a good handyman, somebody that likes to do things with my hands, I handed it back to Factor to fix. And by the time they had it ready for me to pick up, so I could finish off riding it for the full review, there was some logistical stuff going on with my family. We were moving interstate and it never eventuated. However, the Factor O2 has stuck out in my mind ever since that experience. That's despite the disc brakes. So a couple of years after committing, I would be doing a full comprehensive review on the Factor O2. I will now be doing it in probably the next, I'd say 2 to 3 months' time. So the second reason why I've decided to purchase the Factor O2 VAM, and I think the channel supporters and members out there will appreciate this one, but before we get to it, I did want to thank today's video sponsor being Squarespace. Now, when Squarespace first reached out to me at the back end of last year, I was like, this is sounding a bit familiar, because my wife at the time had literally just launched a brand new website and she was raving about the technology platform, and that platform was Squarespace. If we have a quick look at Alice's site, you can see it has a very clean, simple yet intuitive layout. Alice also loves the fact it's super easy to go into the back end, alter text, layouts, color schemes, etc. without needing any development skills. If you're keen to get a site off the ground, check out squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/CamNichols to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. See details in the below video description area. So number 2 is the almighty rim brake. That's right, as you can see there, Factor are one of the only pro peloton bike manufacturers that are still creating top of the range racing bikes with rim brake option. As Bike Radar puts it, in stark contrast to every other road bike launch of 2020 so far, the O2 VAM is actually still available in a rim brake version. Hashtag save the rim brake, fans rejoice. And to be honest with you, that is actually how I started this process. You see, moving into 2021, I still want to own a rim brake road bike. So I typed into Google, bicycle brands that still offer rim brake options. Factor popped up, and between that and my previous experiences, I was like, I think we have a winner. For reference, I like rim brakes because they're way less annoying than disc brakes. It's simple, it's relatable, and I think people can understand it. So the third reason why I've decided to buy the Factor O2 is it's bloody light. So I weighed the frame, and that comes in at 715 grams, and the uncut fork was 266 grams. So no doubt there will be some performance gains when it comes to riding this bike. And look, for me over the years, I've never really been focused on weight savings on a bike. You see, I'm a heavier rider than many I compete against, weighing normally around, on a good day, 78 kilograms or 172 pounds. And while I'm okay at getting up hills for my size, I'm never going to be winning a hilly road race or a hilly event. So with that in mind, weight has never really been a focal point for me. This bike is so light, I can tell you that. So why would I invest my time, money, etc. into buying a lightweight climbing bike? You see, I've always pondered what it would be like to really dial back the weight on my bike. Frame set, group set, wheels, etc. And the reason for that is, I've been curious to understand what impact that will have, not only on hill climbing, because that's the obvious one, but as I'm not really a climber, what about crit racing on flat courses? What about local bunch rides on undulating roads? What impact is a lightweight climbing bike going to have there? Because I mean, even in a crit race, while there typically isn't hills, yes, you might get some slight rises and false flats, etc. There is a ton of surging out of the saddle to get back on a wheel, and having a kilo or two less on your bike than what I'm typically used to, how's that going to feel? Is that going to have as much of an advantage as, say, an aero frame set that is a lot heavier in the same crit race, such as the Winspace crit bike I'm about to build up? So these are some areas I can now uncover in a lot more detail. Some new experiences for me which I can share with you on the channel. And the question I have for you is, what should I put on this bike? How do we build this thing up? We want to keep it lightweight. I'm thinking some Caden lightweight wheels, but in terms of group set, I'm still undecided. I think I want to go with a SRAM group set, but always keen to hear your thoughts below. So that's it on the Factor bike. Let's get into part 2 of this video. What's been going on behind the scenes, mate? Yeah? Just looking forward to the next meal? So what's been going on behind the scenes? My wife Alice is more and more into surfboarding, and she's preparing... Surfing. She's preparing for a trip down Byron Bay.
I'll end up there, I think.
End up there. The kids went back to school 2 days ago, and as much as we love them so much, it was a great day to get them back into school. I think they were looking forward to getting back into school as well. Regarding the Winspace project, because of school holidays, I mentioned this in the last video, I know a lot of people are starting to get a touch impatient, and I can appreciate why. A lot of people in January take pretty much the whole month off or the last 2 weeks off. So it's very hard to get processes and things underway, but I'm very close to locking in the process that we described in the last video, there's going to be 2 different suppliers that help us out. I'm very close to locking that in. So hopefully next week I can give you some dates on when we're going to get this thing tested from a QA perspective and also repainted. And the last thing is, excuse the absence on YouTube over the last couple of weeks. Not only school holidays, I'm about to relaunch the Up-Level Road Cycling course. We're going to be welcoming on board 50 new members. The course opens next Monday for anyone that is interested. So that's taken up a fair amount of my time. That's pretty much it. I'll catch you all in the next video.